All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We are very, very excited to take a trip to Ensigns and Marathon and where they make all maple products. Give me a double thumbs up if you love maple syrup. Perfect. Now, what we're going to do today is we are going to learn what it's like to get um, all of these products that we love, like maple syrup, maple candy, maple cream, all the deliciousness. And we have a very special guest. This is Josh. Can you say hello to everyone?
Hello, everybody. Can you everyone hear me?
Perfect. Thank you. So, here at Ensigns, can you tell us a little bit about what your routine is, what your day is like, and your busy season?
Sure. So normally we get started about in December. We start working in the woods. As you can see, the lines out here in the woods, we start maintaining those and getting those fixed up and put spouts on and replace any tubing that we replace. And then about January, we start tapping the tree. So each year we have to drill a new hole and put a new spout in the tree. And then depending on the year, this year we didn't start until the end of February. Normally we get started about the beginning of February. It all depends on the weather. For in order the sap to run, it has to be above freezing during the day and it needs to freeze below freezing at night.
Awesome. Now, do you find that you use the same trees every year?
Yes, we use the same trees every year. We don't tap any trees under 10 inches. So about every 15 years we replace the tubing and then that's when we'll add the new growth, or sometimes there's trees that die, or we have a lot of wind damage lately with broken trees, so they get taken out.
Okay, that's awesome. So, you guys are located in Marathon, which is not too far from a lot of our local schools. How long have you been have this maple farm?
So my grandfather and his grandfather started this in 1947, about a half a mile from here. And in 1979, we moved to this location. And my father and uncle helped do it. And now we've started another generation. I'm the fourth generation sugar maker here, making syrup.
Awesome. Is this your favorite time of year?
This is, it's almost ending though, so it's kind of sad.
Oh, how long does your season run for?
Normally our season runs for about 2 months. This year it's a little bit shorter.
Okay.
Just the warm spell that we had a few weeks ago kind of ended it, but we've got a little bit of cold now, so we're actually fired back up. And we're going to try to make a little more syrup today and tomorrow.
Awesome. So where do you guys start on the farm? You want to take us through what you guys do
Yep. So we
and
can start. We'll head down here to the pump house. This is one of the three pump houses that we have. All of our tubing is on vacuum, so there's an actual vacuum pump that sucks on the lines. That helps us with our production. We get more sap. Also, that helps if it doesn't freeze at night, the sap won't run on natural gravity the next day. With the vacuum, we can go almost a week without a freeze. So it kind of helps with the climate change that we're having now with our production.
okay. Do you find that when you're in the pump house, like with the vacuum system, do you ever have troubles with it? Do you have different people that have to come in and help you, or do you guys just do it all on the farm?
We do most of it ourselves, motor troubles or new pumps, anything like that we can do. And actually, with the vacuum, we can tell if there's a leak. That's our biggest problem with the production is the leaks, animals chewing or trees falling, any damage. And with the vacuum here, we can tell that there's a loss in vacuum, so we can go find the spot. And actually, I don't know if you can hear me in here. I'll turn this down.
Yeah, you're good.
So in here, if you look up here, there's a sensor. We have these throughout the woods. That's something we added a couple years ago. It actually sends a signal back to my cell phone, and I can tell at the end of every main line, so it'll tell me where we have to start to find the leak. I'll
Okay.
turn the lights on. And then here, so over here to the left here, this is a vacuum pump. And then over here, that's what they call a releaser. This is where the sap comes in. You can see all the lines coming in from the woods. And I don't know if you can peek that camera. You can see the sap actually running in.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
That's the sap coming in from the woods.
So what color is sap when it comes out of the tree?
So it's dependent on the time of year. Normally, in perfect conditions, it looks just like water. Right now, it's a little later in the year and it's been warm, so the sap's got a little bit of a tint. It'll get a milky flavor, yellow or a milky color,
Okay.
yellowish color. Also, that's just the bacteria starts to grow in the sap when it gets really warm.
Okay.
So that's the releaser. That pumps. We have a line buried underground. It goes up to the sugar house, so we
Mm,
can head back to the sugar house and see where it goes from there.
that's awesome. So the tubing next to you, is there a reason why it's different colors?
Nope. I've just tried a couple different colors to see. We actually like the green now. It shows up a little better this time of year.
Okay.
And then in the summer when everything's growing, you don't see it as much.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, in this main line, I could show you if anyone's interested. There's um, a wire. It's a high tensile fence wire that we use, and that's how we hold all the main lines up.
Oh, wow.
And they're different sizes. We have anywhere from 3/4 inch to inch and a half
Okay.
main lines that run through the woods. Miles. We have miles and miles of tubing.
How big is your farm? Now, when you were in the pump house, um, you said you had the sensors for the animals, and when your tubing
Does everyone
get,
still hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, you were gone for a little bit.
Okay, I just checking.
I just had a question about your sensors in the pump house. When
Yep.
it tells you that there's something broken, that technology, is that recent?
Yes, probably 5 years ago or less.
Okay. Now, how many people help on your farm?
That depends on the day. There's as many as five of us. Normally it's two or three. We'll go this way down through. So we'll head right to the tank room and see the sap, and then we'll come back to all this other stuff.
And friends joining us, if you have any questions, just type them in the Q&A and we will get them answered for you. Do you have to put anything on the tubing to help? Oh,
Support it.
oh, there you go. I think we lost you for a minute. I
Yep,
think you're
I got
back.
you now.
Okay.
What was your question?
Do you put anything on the tubing to help besides just the support, or is it covered?
Um, Nope, not for protection. It's covered. There's what the wire, and then we wire it to trees, and then in various spots we'll use sticks to hold it up.
Okay.
Um,
Right.
it has a UV resistance in it built into the pipe. It's made to last 20 years out in the woods. So here we are in our tank room now. This is where the sap pumps up. The one tank we're looking at, it's almost full. This is a 3,000 gallon tank. And we have a couple other ones. There's one on the other side. That one we use for RO water. They call it permeate water. And then there's one behind me we use for sap also. And then there's another one above us. That's what they call a head tank. That feeds the evaporator by gravity.
Okay.
And we'll go look at that in a minute. So a normal day, we'll let these two tanks fill up. So we'll have about 5,000 gallons, and then we'll start the ROs. And what that does is help take the water out, so it boils a lot faster. Um, Normal sap is about 1 to 1.5% sugar. And to make maple syrup, it's 33% sugar. So we have to cook a lot of the water out.
Mhm.
Um, so the reverse osmosis machine helps us with that. We just upgraded. We have two machines now. The first machine will run through to take the excess water out. We'll go from whatever the sugar is that day. Today the sugar is about 1%. We'll go to 5%. These are the machines. They're kind of fancy looking, but all they do is take the water out. They make distilled water. This technology was developed in World War II on the ships in the Navy. They use these for drinking water. You can RO the seawater and put minerals back in it, and then That's how they got their drinking water on the ships. So from then we RO it, and then they call it concentrate. After that, we go to 15% sugar, and then it goes into the evaporator. So we can go check the evaporator out now.
So do you know how many trees you tap by chance?
We tapped 4,500
Wow.
this year, and roughly we get an average a gallon of sap per tap per day on a good day. Sometimes this year we had a few days we got over 2 gallons.
Wow.
So we had one day we processed a little over 10,000 gallons of sap, and I think for the year we're around 150,000 gallons of sap, and we've made 1,964 gallons of syrup. So it takes a lot of sap to make syrup.
Right. So the trees
So
are the ones that make the sap, right?
yes, the sugar maples are the best ones, also known as a hard maple. And we do tap the soft maples or red maples, they call them. Under vacuum, they work okay. Not as great as a sugar maple, but they work better than years ago. They never tapped them because they're on buckets and they didn't run as good and not as high as sugar content.
I'm not sure if you asked this or you answered this or not. How much sap do you guys collect in a year or in this year so far? How much have you
So
collected?
this year so far, we're approaching 150,000 gallons of sap.
Wow, that's amazing. And on your best year, do you know how much you have collected?
So this is actually good. It's not our best year per tap, but it's our most. We added some taps last year.
Okay.
Our best year ever was a couple years ago. We made 6/10 of syrup per tap. This year we're just over 4.5.
Awesome.
Our goal is always a half a gallon per tap, but that doesn't always happen.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So what
So
are we
this
looking at
big
now?
shiny thing is the evaporator. It looks a little different than the older ones. They're pretty much the same concept. There's a front pan and a back pan, also known as a flue pan, and then this one has an added pan called a steam away or a piggyback. That takes the heat from the evaporator from the back pan and warms the sap up and makes it more efficient as it goes in the back. So how this works, this pipe in the top, that's from the tank that I showed you. There's a float box that holds it at a certain level. It rolls through that pan and then it comes into this big pan in the back, and that's where all the boiling is done there. It gets really hot, steams, smells really good. And as it gets thicker, it works its way through the pan and comes in here to the front pan. This is where the syrup actually is. They call it the syrup pan. Right now, there's water soaking in here. We're cleaning it, but there's partitions in there, so it starts and it works its way through. And as it goes through, it gets thicker and thicker, and then eventually it comes out of the evaporator as syrup. Um, so syrup goes by density. Um, I have a hydrometer here. So when we make the syrup, there is a temperature probe here. It's automated now. We set it by temperature, and this valve is automatic. It opens to whatever temperature we set. It's supposed to be 219 degrees, but that does fluctuate throughout the day and the year. So we have this hydrometer. We fill the cup with syrup, and then these are like a bobber, and they float. And when they float up, this top red line, that's syrup. So when it floats to that, then we can set our temperature, and then it runs into this tank here, this draw off tank. And that's how the syrup happens. Then it comes out into there. When that gets filled up, we do a batch. So this thing flips. There's two tanks. So this switches while we're still making it. We can fill the other tank, and then we can make sure the density is right on this one. And then from there, there's a hose on the ground that runs over to our filter press. We can suck it right out of there, and it goes through the hose over to our filter press. And this is how we filter the syrup. Years ago, we used to just have a sheet that kind of looked like this, and we would pour it through it or a filter sock. Um, Now they have a filter press. This is just made up of a series of plates. One of them's a waffle honeycomb plate, and then the other one's just hollow. So the paper goes in like that, and then it goes like that, and that creates this cavity in here, and that's where all the stuff we want to filter out comes out. And it's actually crazy when you're cooking it, it makes sand comes out of the syrup. That's the main sugar sand they call it, or niter. So we filter that out and any other contaminants that might be in it. That gets filtered out. And then from there, we either go into a barrel, stainless steel, those are 40-gallon barrels, or over here we have a canner. That's where we can put it into our jugs. That's how we
Oh,
get it into these jugs.
oh, that's awesome. So, how does it depend on the weather? I know you mentioned that earlier. Does it depend on the weather how much sap you are able to get?
It absolutely does. The weather, everything we do with sugaring is weather dependent. It has to be above freezing for the sap to run, and then if it gets too hot, those few nice days we had like 70 degrees, that's the worst thing for it. The trees try to grow leaves then
Hmm.
and bud, and once they do that, the sap isn't as good a quality, and the syrup that we make doesn't taste very well. So we wholesale that, and that goes into flavorings and vinegar and such.
Okay.
But the weather is a huge factor.
Now, when you are talking about sap and boiling the sap, that's just you heat it up and you cook it, right? So the
Yep,
water comes out.
that's all we're doing is cooking the water out, and then we're caramelizing what's all the minerals and sugars that are left in the liquid they caramelize as we cook them, and that's what makes the tasty syrup.
So how long does it take when you're boiling that sap to actually make maple syrup, like a timeline?
So it takes approximately an hour for that sap to work its way through the evaporator to come out. As it goes in, sap on one end and the other end syrup, it's about an hour.
Okay, and in your facility here, is it gas, electric, wood?
Ours is wood. We use wood for
Okay.
ours. And I can
So
show you that actually.
to boil, you use wood. For everything else, are you using electric?
Propane, anything else that we heat is propane.
Okay.
Electric, the filter press runs on air, which
Okay.
is an electric air compressor, runs that. Um, the canner does have propane heat under it. When we can syrup, you have to can it between 180 and 190 when you put it in a jug. Anytime we change a container, it has to be at 180 to 190 degrees. That way it sterilizes everything and it keeps. So,
How old are some of the trees that you're tapping?
some of the big ones I would guess are 250 to 300 years old.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, some of them have been here a long time.
That's awesome. Do you have to replant trees or are you just kind of good with what
Nope.
you're?
Nope, we don't. We just kind of clear out the unwanted trees, the different species. We get rid of some of the non-maple species. We have a lot of hemlock growing in our woods. We actually built a sugar house we cut some trees out of the woods and sawed our own lumber.
Oh, that's
And then
awesome.
they kind of replant themselves. Um, so as we make the syrup, you'll see up here, this is all the syrup that we made this year. When we fill a barrel, we take a sample. Um, And the
Wow.
biggest question everyone asks is why is it a different color? We don't get to pick what color it makes. Mother Nature for us. Depending on the temperature and how fast we can process it. If it stays cold, normally in the beginning of the year, it's lighter, as you can see. It's in progression. This one here was our first barrel that we made, and then we came across the top row and then starting here. So the end one you can see is much darker.
Oh,
As it
wow.
gets warmer, the syrup gets a little bit darker. And there is a calendar or a poster right here. There's four different grades of maple syrup. There's golden color, delicate taste, amber color, rich taste, dark color, robust taste, and very dark color, strong taste. So each time we make syrup, we have to grade it. There's a couple different ways to do that. This is the old, easiest method. As you can see here, those show you this. There's actually only three colors here, but the fourth one, anything darker than this color, which is dark, makes it very dark. So we'll take one of these as we make it that day, and you can put it in there, and then you see which one it closely resembles.
That's
So
really
this
cool.
so this one would be amber.
Awesome. Um, how
And
long have you guys been in business here?
what was that?
How long have you been in business at Ensigns?
So my grandfather started here in 1947.
Wow.
I took it over in 2012. So that, and then that has all of the samples, and then we have different stickers. Here's some like that was a dark color. So that way, when anyone's at the store, if they decide which one they like better, then they can look for that. They know they want dark or amber or very dark. The very dark is normally used for cooking. It has a stronger maple flavor. Um, that's the biggest difference between the colors. The color really doesn't change the flavor, but as it gets darker, it has a stronger maple flavor. All the nutrients and everything is the same.
That's awesome. Do you use plastic or metal taps in your trees?
Plastic tap. So that's a great question. This thing here is called a drop line. And right here on the end, that's the spout. Those are plastic. We use a couple different ones. When we use brand new tubing, this is just a straight one. And then our older tubing, you can see there's a little ball in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's called a check valve spout. So every day when the sap runs, when it freezes back at night, the tree tries to suck the sap back into the tree.
Oh.
So with this little ball, it prevents that from happening. So in the older tubing, it gets a little bit dirtier and older and has some age to it. If it
Mhm.
sucks that dirty sap back into the tree will actually start to heal itself and close the hole. So we can
Oh,
extend our season a little bit with that. Brand new tubing, you don't need that as much.
okay. That's
Um,
awesome.
this is another tool that we use. This is how we tap the tree. It looks kind of fancy, but it helps us drill a nice straight hole into the tree. It's like a drill press.
Oh, yeah.
One
Does
of
it
the
make a
tools.
difference if the hole is straight or not?
It makes a huge difference. With vacuum, you have to have a perfect hole so you get a perfect seal. If you don't drill a perfect hole, an oblong or a crooked hole, it won't seal and the vacuum will leak and then the hole dries up.
Now, do you sell your maple products? And what maple products do you have?
So we sell all sorts of maple products. We do sell them. We have syrup, candy, cream, and granulated sugar. And we
Awesome.
also buy in hard maple drops. Those are hard to make, so we get those made elsewhere. We buy those in.
Where could people buy it if they were interested?
We could come to our farm or Greg's in town. They sell our syrup.
Oh,
The
in
local food
Marathon?
mart in Cortland, right in Marathon. Yep.
Okay. That's awesome. So those barrels, those are they all holding maple syrup like the one right
Yes.
here?
Yep. So all these barrels, the majority of them, I only have three barrels left that aren't full. All
Wow.
the other barrels around are full. They hold 40 gallons. And so when they're full, they weigh 500 pounds.
Wow. That's heavy. How do you move
Yes.
them?
So we have a little motorized forklift over here. That's how we stack them and move them.
Wow.
Um,
There's so
yep.
much technology in this. Do you know like how many machines go into using or that you use go into making this syrup by chance?
Uh, quite a few. A lot of them just make it easier and faster. Well, we didn't have this many when we first started. We had sat buckets, and my grandfather had a team of horses, and they'd go collect the buckets. And actually, we have some of those over here. Some people probably have never seen sat buckets.
Yeah. So while you're doing that, do you ever get in like have bugs and stuff coming in or
Yep. So the sat buckets were horrible with bugs and flies. With our tubing now, it's everything sealed and under vacuum. So the only place that the flies or bugs would get in it would be in the tanks. And then we keep our tank room, we keep closed and cool when it gets hotter. We keep that closed up so it stays cool and the bugs stay out. But we filter all those out before it goes, before we start to process it. Everything gets filtered and all that, the bugs and anything come out. They love the taste of sweet sap. That's for sure.
oh, I bet. Who doesn't?
Yes.
Um, so from when the sap comes in to when it's bottled in the containers, is that about an hour or is it only an hour to boil it?
It's about an hour to boil it, but we normally don't. With our process now, it doesn't take too long. The sap that runs today, we boil today. Um, So it's either goes by the end of the day, it goes in a jug or it goes in a drum. The sap, especially later in the year, it doesn't keep for very long when it gets warm.
That's awesome. Can you drink the sap right out of the tree?
You can drink the sap out of the tree. It kind of tastes like a sweet nectar water, I guess you could call it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Is there like more animals you see in your woods that have like that give you problem like deer, squirrels, or
Squirrels are probably the worst, especially once they get the taste of the sap. Then they don't want to leave the lines alone.
yeah. Um, so you said that you guys mainly have sugar maple trees. Heart, is that correct?
Yep, and we're probably half and half now
Okay.
between the hard maple, sugar maples, and the soft red maples.
Do you know how much syrup products you sell in a year?
Um, I don't keep too close track with that. It's too hard with we do a lot of wholesale. A lot of the barrels, probably half of our syrup we make, we wholesale, which goes to another big bulk buyer in New
Okay.
Hampshire, and
Oh,
then they re-bottle it and ship it across the world.
wow, that's awesome. So on average, like how much does it cost you per day at the Sugar Shack to run?
Um, quite a bit.
There's a lot of that goes into it, right?
There is a lot, especially now the electric cost is going up, and the ROs run on electric. They each draw 50 amps, so that takes quite a bit. And the vacuum pumps, they run 24/7. Um,
Okay.
Last month our electric bill between the two places was $1,500.
Whew. Yeah. So,
So there's a lot of money that goes into all this, and the upkeep with everything, and the stainless. Everything's food grade stainless, or food grade plastic. So
okay. And is there, what do you guys do after maple season's over?
once the season is over, um, we'll pull the taps, and then we suck a cleaning solution down the lines. It's a sanitizer, so it kills anything that's in the lines, and then that stays in there to keep anything from growing throughout the warm months. And then the evaporator gets acid washed. Same thing with the ROs; they get washed, soap wash, acid wash, and then a rinse.
Do
And
you have a certain place where you get your bottles and storage containers? Do you have to source that out?
yep, so the majority of the stuff we get is Countryside Hardware in DeRuyter, New York. They have a lot of the stuff we need.
Okay. So we've been talking about all the really good things. Have you ever had a bad experience making maple syrup?
Oh yeah, we had a lot of bad experiences this year making maple syrup. Um, we added an RO machine, so that one night, our second night of boiling, we tripped a transformer on the pole and lost power for a while.
Ooh.
And fired a generator up and burnt an RO machine up.
Uh-huh.
That was probably the worst day.
Okay.
Um, there's once in a great while the syrup doesn't flow right through the evaporator and foams up and you can burn it, especially in the late season.
Okay.
Um, the filtering also this year's been, for whatever reason, there's a lot more minerals. Iron and manganese have been in excess this year, so the ROs need to be cleaned extra, and the syrup doesn't filter very well this year. So that was a struggle.
Okay. Do you have somebody that would be taking over your business if you retire or when you retire?
I hope so. My son's 12, and
Okay.
that's the plan. He's supposed
Okay.
to be helping us today. You might see him in the next video. He's
Oh,
supposed
awesome.
the third graders are coming and he's supposed to give them a tour of the woods.
So, him being 12, like what are his jobs to help with?
Um, he normally goes when he gets home from school. During the week, he'll go fix the leaks in the woods. With a monitoring system, I can get him close to where he needs to go fix the leaks. And then he'll help us gather the sap. The other two locations we have to haul in. We have a 1,000-gallon tank on a trailer that we haul in. So
Okay.
he'll help clean the tanks. And then Normally we start boiling about 6 o'clock at night, and he'll help with the filter press and cleaning tanks and stuff. There's a lot of cleaning that goes involved with the making syrup.
Yeah, for sure. Um, have you ever won a prize at the Maple Festival?
Ooh, I lost you for a second.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Have you ever won a prize at the Maple Festival? Or do
Nope.
they do prizes
They
there?
don't do prizes there anymore. We do sell. There's a consignment. There's 9 consigners. We are one of the consigners at the Maple Fest. We did enter the state fair this year, and our maple cream won first place, and
Oh,
we
nice.
placed, I can't remember, second place with our amber syrup.
Okay, that's awesome. So we are just about out of time here. Can people make maple syrup at their house?
Absolutely. The easiest way is you get a tap in a bucket and tap your tree once it starts getting warm in the spring, and then you can collect it and cook it down on your stove at home.
Awesome. And then, like when you said your son goes out and fixes leaks, how does he fix them? Do you have like, I don't know, certain
So,
fixes for the lines?
yep, no, normally, a lot of the leaks are where a fitting broke, where something fell on it and it broke, so we just replace the fitting, or an animal chews holes in the line, so we'll have to replace that section.
Okay.
And the other leaks that we find a lot is a hollow tree or a bad spot in the tree. If that will leak vacuum. So if in that case, we just pull that tap and cap it for the year.
Okay. And do trees ever run out of sap?
Not normally. If the
Okay.
weather's right and it keeps freezing and thawing and we have enough moisture in the ground, the only time we'd run out of sap is if it stops freezing or we had a drought and there wasn't enough moisture in the ground. The sap is actually the roots. In the roots, that's where the sugar is stored. So if there's groundwater, um, that comes up through, and that's what makes the sap.
Awesome. And probably the last question that we'll end with here. So is your son the youngest one that comes and helps on the farm?
He is the youngest.
That's
I,
awesome.
I do have a nephew that's 2 years old, so I'm hoping he wants to do it too, but he hasn't helped yet. He just helps eat it.
Well, taste testing is important.
Yes, it is.
Taste testing is important. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And thanks everybody for joining us. And we hope that you guys all had a great time. And we will be on again in just a little while.
Thank you.
Thanks.